G'day legends, I hope you're all amazing. On today's video, we're going to take a look at this pedal board that I've put together with some of my favorite pedals and this incredible custom pedal board from Propeller Designs here in Australia. Propeller Designs is Glenn McKenzie, who's got over 30 years experience in the aviation industry, and that certainly shows with the overall styling, fit and finish of this pedal board. You can see over on one side, you've got these sort of scratch plate wings almost with these really nicely carved out circles that function as handles. This particular version has 3 locking jacks on here that follow through to the other side and allow you to wire up your board to be nice and neat and tidy. You've got the same setup over on the other side there. This has this lovely oiled finish on here. This is architectural grade Baltic birch. I love the color on there. I love the overall vibe. And this is a 2-tiered pedal board. So like a lot of bespoke modern boards, this has these gorgeous hinges in here that have this ka-chunk about them when you open them up. So you can see here, you've got your hinges and these actually lock in. You take a look here, right on the side, this has this little kind of lip where this part of the board will very, very nicely click into place. It's just one of those things. You know something's quality when it's got that kind of feel about it. You know, you go from here and it just clips. So you can have your top tier of pedals on here. There's so much room on this board for all your favorite pedals or multi-effects, MIDI controllers, anything else that you want to do. This would easily accommodate a switching system like, you know, the gig rigs, which are run by Dan. Another Australian doing well. There's going to be a little bit of an Australian theme running through here. The way I've set this up, you can see there's plenty of room underneath there for extra pedals. If you did use this with a switcher, I've got a power supply and a splitter. We'll talk about all of this a little bit later. It also ships with Velcro and an optional carry bag on there. All right, that's what it is. That's what it looks like. But let's have some fun with these pedals and talk about what I've chosen to put on for this particular board and why. Here's what I've ended up with. I really wanted to make use of the 2-tier design and the 3 output jacks on here. I've done a little bit of trickery inside, which I'll show you in just a second, but let's start in the bottom right of the board. I've got the Crazy Tube Circuits Golden Ratio compressor, one of my favorite compressor pedals. I really like the opto mode on there. In fact, I like all the modes on there, but I've got it set on the opto mode at the moment. Then, keeping the Australian theme, I've got the PastFx Chorus Ensemble, an amazing recreation of the iconic Boss CE1, the good old standard MXR Phase 90. This is actually a custom shop script version that has been modded to support an external power supply, which is very handy. 40th anniversary Boss SD1. The SD1 is always the first pedal that goes on any pedal board that I put together. And then probably my favorite fuzz, the Way Huge Swollen Pickle. This one has been around Australia and the USA a few times with me, and it just refuses to die and always sounds massive. Now, what's going on underneath there is the Swollen Pickle is going into a Layla P-split. And what this is going to let me do is it's going to let me split up to the top row of pedals on here, where I've got the Neural DSP Nano Cortex, I've got a capture of my late 70s Marshall Plexi that I made loaded up, the KMA Geminis, an amazing sounding double tracker, and the absolutely tremendous Fractal VP4. This is handling all the time-based effects. In this preset, I've got some pitch detune, a wonderful multi-tap delay, a dual delay, and then a couple of different options for reverb in there. Now, I mentioned the P-split before. What the P-split is letting me do is come up to this top row of pedals so that I can run this as an all-in-one direct rig, but because the P-split is between the Swollen Pickle and the Nano Cortex, I'm taking the other output out of one of these side jacks here, and I'm able to run this bottom row of pedals, this all analog ensemble of pedals, into any other amp. And that's really handy for me if I'm going to be demoing amps in here, because generally, when I check out an amp, I want to try it with a few different guitars, but I always have a couple of go-to pedals that I want to try with an amp, like how well does it take an SD1 as a boost? What does it sound like absolutely obliterated by the Swollen Pickle? You know, if you're boosting it with the SD1, you probably want a little bit of wobble from something like a Phase 90 or the Chorus Ensemble. And of course, the compressor and the Chorus Ensemble with like a single coil guitar into a clean amp is a beautiful thing. So having said all of that, I'm playing another marvel of Australian creation. This is the Charles Chillier Bell Aurora. Charles is an absolute wizard. This is one of my favorite guitars that I've ever played in my life. I'm very lucky to own it. Let's have a listen to that Plexi capture out of the Nano Cortex, and I've got a little bit of the gold plate reverb from the VP4. Then we'll just stack some effects in front of it. Now, I do have plenty of space on here, and there are more outlets on the power supplies, so I might actually try and go away and think about what I could add to this particular board to really make it a go-to here in the studio. Having that bottom row of pedals with its own output on there via the P-split on there is going to be so handy for demoing amps. It means I can just plug this board in using the IEC adapter, and if I just want to use the analog pedals into an amp, I can do that. If I want to use the whole thing as a direct rig, I can also do that. And if I just change a couple of cables and I just wanted to use the VP4 on its own, I could do that as well. I've got a couple of other ideas for fun builds to do on this particular board as well. So keep your eyes out over the next couple of weeks and months because I will probably upload those. You'll also be seeing this board on basically every single pedal demo that I do going forward because it is just such a luxurious and premium piece of equipment. Glenn at Propeller is building these to order and can also do extra services like custom wiring, adding things like MIDI on there, and is happy to talk through basically any of your designs. As an Australian, it's so awesome that we've got this premium alternative to something like a Schmidt design over here. And if you're Aussie and you grab one of these, you're supporting an Australian business as well. I'll drop a link to Propeller Designs in the video description below. Thanks so much for checking out the video. Big thank you to Glenn at Propeller for sending this over. Now go and play your guitars and enjoy the rest of your day. I'll catch you next time.